All right, so you can now see that my piece is in place. The glue, I actually mixed some calidria silica or silica into the batch and created a fillet for the top because there was a bit of a gap up in here from where the bulkhead or where my laminations are being placed and the very top of the or the inside of the deck, and I didn't want a space in there, and so I pushed a bunch of fillet in there by mixing that calidria silica, and then I oozed glue over everything and stapled it all together. So that's going to sit and set, and a couple of days from now, when I get the next opportunity to come back, I'm going to come back in here and we'll pull out the staples, take off the clamps, and at that point in time, we'll go for the third level. Now, there's one thing that I just noticed that you haven't really seen. I wanted you to notice that I've got this hydraulic jack that's been supporting the cross member, because what I noticed when I started removing those plies is the deck started pushing down on it. So I happen to have one of these jacks, and I put it in there, and it's been there for about 4 days now, and it hasn't budged. But it's rated at 25 tons, so I wouldn't expect, like 150 pounds of deck to do anything to this thing. It's going to stay there until a year and a half next Thursday, probably. Okay, so that's it from here. I'm going to take some stills and get some close-ups of this stuff, and that's it for now. All right, so I have removed the staples out of this piece here, and it's fit in very nicely and tightly, and it's glued very well up against the sub surface. And so today we're working on this section right here, and the idea is to try and accomplish a cutout. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little friend here, and I'm going to square up all of those surfaces. And you can see right there that that surface is pretty straight, but there's a few of them, including the vertical surfaces, that one right there actually, that's not necessarily perfectly straight. So I'm going to spend some time getting all of my edges as straight as possible, because doing the cut, what I do basically is I take my big carpenter square, I clamp it on the piece of wood, and then I use the fine saw and I just run down pushing against the carpenter's square, so I get a perfectly straight line. So if I can take care and get some nice vertical and horizontal straight lines in my cutout, then the fit is going to be ultra clean. So that's the effort that's going to be going forward today. One of the tools that was very useful here is a bullnose plane, and I will explain why. My little, hold on, my miniature shoulder plane worked very good, but you could see I couldn't get where the blade is, right where my thumb is, all the way down to the bottom of the cut. So a bullnose plane is in the shoulder plane family, but what I was able to do is you can take the front guard off of it, and then when you drop it down, the blade goes all the way down. So I don't know if you can actually see that, but that planes very nicely right to the corner of what you're trying to do. So at any rate, there's a little heads up on what a bull plane is good for. There he is, and there is his guard that will normally go onto it, and it acts like a reasonably good plane. I was also using a very small block plane to just clean up these pieces of veneer. There, I was cleaning all the edges and perfectly fitting, well, that's a long way from being perfect, but I was fitting them in very tightly by just shaving off a little bit, fitting it, shaving off a little bit, fitting it. It was It was an exercise in patience, but if you work patiently with this kind of work, you're going to get a good fit. As you can see with the existing piece that's in there, the fit was reasonably good. Let me just see if I can get a bit of zoom and get a better, I mean, like that line that's there is not a bad line at the end of the day. And that fit in very nicely. And structurally speaking, it's incredibly strong. So that's today's work.